Welcome to Geeks for Geeks. Today we'll find the maximum length of rod for qth person. Our problem statement is given length of n rod in an array A. If any person picks any rod, half of the longest rod or max plus 1 divided by 2 is assigned and remaining part max minus 1 by 2 is put back. It may be assumed that sufficient number of rods are available. Answer M queries given in an array Q to find the largest length of rod available for Q ith person, provided Qi is a valid person number starting from 1. So, if these are the length of rod we have taken, then we need to find the maximum length of rod for qth person. Here, a person takes half of the longest rod, that is here 12 is the rod with longest length. Then, person takes rod of length 12 and puts a rod of length 12 by 2, that is 6. Now, similarly for second person, 10 is the longest rod. Thus, second person will take rod of length 10 and will put rod of length 10 by 2, that is 5. Now, for third person, longest rod is 9. Thus, he will take 9 and will put 9 minus 1 by 2, that is 4. So, basically, here the problem statement is to find the length of rod taken by nth person. Now, let us understand the algorithm to solve this problem. Don't worry if you don't understand it here. We'll discuss this in detail in the later part of this video. To solve this problem, we'll use a stack and a queue. First, sort all the lengths and push them onto a stack. Now, take the top element of stack and divide by 2 and push the remaining length to queue. Now, from next customer onwards, if stack is empty, pop front queue and push back to queue. It's half. Front by 2 if non-zero. If queue is empty, pop from stack and push to queue. It's half. Top by 2 if non-zero. If both are non-empty, compare top and front. Whichever is larger should be popped, divided by 2 and then pushed back. If both are empty, store is empty. Stop here. Let us see the C++ implementation of this problem and understand it by taking an example. So here in this function, max rod length, parameter passed are int AR, which is the array containing length of all the rods, and int N, which specifies the number of rods, and int M, which represents number of queries. So let us understand it by taking an example. So this is the array passed to the function. First of all, we'll sort this array by sort function in STL. Now, in this loop, we'll push sorted element into the stack. Now, in this while loop, we'll calculate the rod length taken by each person. Let us iterate for first person. Since queue is empty, we'll pop from stack and push rod of length 12 by 2, that is 6 in the queue. Thus, person 1 got rod of length 12. Now, for second iteration, both stack and queue are not empty. Thus, we'll compare top and front element. Whichsoever is larger will be popped and divided by 2 and pushed to queue. Thus, here 10 is larger than 6. Thus, we'll pop it and push 5 in the queue. Thus, second person gets rod of length 10. Now, for third iteration, both stack and queue are not empty. Thus, we'll compare top and front element. Thus, here 9 is larger than 6. Thus, we'll pop it and push 4 in the queue. Thus, third person gets rod of length 9. Now, for fourth iteration, both stack and queue are not empty. Thus, we'll compare top and front element. Thus, here 6 is not larger than 6. Thus, we'll pop 6 from queue and push 6 by 2, that is 3, in the queue. Thus, fourth person gets rod of length 6. Now, for the fifth iteration, both stack and queue are not empty. Thus, we'll compare top and front element. Here, 6 is larger than 5. Thus, we'll pop 6 and push 6 by 2, that is 3, in the queue. And thus, fifth person get rods of length 6. For sixth iteration, 5 is not larger than 5. Thus, we'll pop 5 from the queue and push 5 by 2, that is 2, in the queue. Thus, sixth person gets rod of length 5. For seventh iteration, 5 is larger than 4. Thus, we'll pop 5 and push 5 by 2, that is 2, in the queue. The seventh person gets rod of length 5. Now, for eighth iteration, 4 is larger than 1. Thus, we'll pop 4 from the queue and push 4 by 2, that is 2, in the queue. Thus, 8th person gets rod of length 4. For ninth iteration, 3 is larger than 1. Thus, we'll pop 3 from queue and push 3 by 2, that is 1, in the queue. Thus, ninth person gets rod of length 3. For 10th iteration, 2 is larger than 1. Thus, we'll pop 2 from queue and push 2 by 2, that is 1, in the queue. Thus, 10th person gets rod of length 2. Now, similarly, for 11th and 12th iteration, 2 is larger than 1. Thus, we'll pop 2 from queue and push 2 by 2, that is 1, in the queue. Thus, 11th and 12th person gets rod of length 2. Now, for 13th, 14th, 15th and 16th iteration, 1 is not larger than 1. Thus, we'll pop 1 from queue and we'll push half, that is 0. Thus, we'll not push anything. Thus, 13th, 14th, 15th and 16th person gets rod of length 1. Now, for 17th iteration, queue is empty. Thus, we'll pop 1 from stack 1 and push half, that is 0, in the queue. That is, we'll not push anything in the queue. Thus, 17th person gets rod of length 1. Thus, we got our required array. We'll return this array to the main function. In this main function, we'll simply display the queries which were asked by the user in this for loop. Time complexity of this algorithm is O n log n. Thank you for watching. Please leave us your likes and comments.